So, Chad,
Yeah.
I just want to get a moment of silence. Well, not really, because that would be weird on a podcast, but let's take a moment and let's remember air power.
Should I pour one out?
Pour one out. Air power is canceled.
Air power is canceled.
That's pretty much all I want to say about that. It's gone. It's out of here.
Can something that you never knew and you never had really be gone?
Apparently.
Apparently. Because he gone. Welcome back to Lunchtime Tech Talk. I'm Chad.
And I'm Mike.
What's up, Mike?
Oh, I was thinking maybe we should do a little comparison.
Comparisons. Comparison shopping?
Comparison shopping. We had a listener ask us about Apple Watch versus Garmin.
What up, Mike?
Yeah. I think that's what we should talk about.
Yeah?
Let our listeners know we listen to them.
Let's talk about that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so Garmin and Apple.
In the watch realm.
Yeah.
And this is more of in the watch realm for, I'd say, athletes, runners.
Yeah.
Probably some biking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think what I'd like to do is just go over some of the stuff that I know about the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
And you can talk about the Garmin. What specific one was he wanting to talk about?
I actually think what he said was he had a friend who was a non-runner and wanted to know, like, what's the best wearable tech out there?
He had a friend?
Asking for a friend.
Yeah, asking for a friend.
And while that is a fantastic subject to cover, we're not non-runners.
Yeah.
You have an Apple Watch and I have a Garmin.
Right.
I had a Withings.
Okay.
Which there was a point in my life where I was like, I don't want an athletic watch. And so my Withings had a nice leather band. It looked analog.
It looked really nice.
It looked really nice.
It was a slick looking watch.
It kept track of steps and some heart rate stuff, and you could get some swimming data, but you couldn't like start a workout.
Mm-hmm.
It just had to recognize that you were doing something.
Oh, I see.
So there wasn't a lot of on wrist functionality, but you could hop into the app and you could see a lot of data.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got some sleep stuff, and at the time, that's exactly what I wanted.
Right.
Like, I didn't want what I have now.
Right.
And then I got into running every day.
Mm-hmm. You did that.
I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it was because of running every day or because #shoddy product, they got bought out.
Yeah. By who?
By Nokia. Yeah, so I had a phone on my...
What the heck?
Yeah, so
Nokia.
Withings was bought out by Nokia. Withings made smart scales and all kinds of stuff, but...
That's how I knew about them.
Yeah.
Was a smart scale.
But under my glass fogged up, and I sent it in and I got a replacement and it fogged up again. And then they said they were coming out with version 2 and they would be happy to let me keep mine and send me a new one. And I said, no, please just give me a refund.
Which is actually impressive because they did give you a refund.
And they did. And they were going to let me have 2 watches.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
They were really trying to hang on to their customer base.
They were really trying, grasping. But that was at the time that they were switching over to Nokia.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were going to have a version 2, and it was going to have some better features and all that kind of stuff. But I was ready to move into triathlete world.
Yeah.
So
you're probably in the same mindset that I am with my Apple Watch, is you want one watch that will do everything that you want it to do.
One watch to rule them all.
Oh my God.
One watch to bind them.
I knew. I knew you were gonna do that. I knew it. You just can't say stuff like that
around me.
Yeah. So I'll cover the Apple Watch. This isn't gonna be a which one is better. It's gonna be more of these are the features that each one of these watches have.
Yeah.
And you can decide which one you want. I can already tell you from right now which one I've picked.
Right.
It's the Apple Watch.
Right.
I've already talked about it in podcasts in the past. I am obsessed with my Apple Watch. I love it. If they quit making it, I would be very sad because it just progressively is getting better all the time. Now, I've had my Apple Watch since some people call it the beta version. Some people call it Series 0. Some people call it, the original, the OG Apple Watch. And it was very, very tethered to the phone. You had to have the phone connected to do anything, including GPS. It was basically just a display on your wrist is all it really was.
Okay.
But they've advanced so much over the years. I currently have a Series 3 with GPS and LTE. So it does connect up through a cell tower, which is one of the big benefits that I like. Right after I bought mine, I would say 9 months after I bought mine, they did announce the Series 4, which is the newest one.
8 or 9 months after you bought the one that's on your wrist right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So about every year they're releasing one, and I knew that they were going to be releasing one, but my watch was getting super slow, the original one.
Sure.
And I needed to replace it, and I actually wound up getting a pretty decent amount of money out of it, so I was able to buy my new one with that extra money. But really, you have a couple different ones that you can choose from now. If you were to go to apple.com or go to your favorite store that sells these things, you have the Series 4, and it comes in multiple sizes, or you can even buy the Series 3, which is what I have. They sell a GPS version and a cell version in both the Series 4 and the Series 3. The differences between the two that you're going to notice right away is the size. The Series 4 has a bigger screen. Physical dimensions are the same. They've just
so
made
it's kind of like with the 10s versus the 7s on
right.
the phone.
Yeah, they've made the bezels a lot smaller. So
that is my favorite way to get more screen size.
Yeah, because it's like you're not putting something larger. You're not just building something bigger to build something bigger. You're saying, look what we can do. We've advanced the technology this much.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
So the Series 3 comes in a 38 millimeter and a 42 millimeter, and the Series 4 will come in a 40 versus a 44. Now, I have seen the 44. It doesn't look like it's just 2 millimeters bigger. It looks significantly bigger. The screen, just the font size on it, it makes such a big difference. And then I've also heard that people that have had the 38 millimeter and went to the 40 are saying that it feels like the screen is the equivalent of what the 42 was back on the Series 3. So
back in the day.
They're getting the advantages of the bigger screen,
yeah,
but keeping the small casing.
Right.
But the prices on these watches can vary. I'll just kind of give you the starting prices on the Series 4. The Series 4, if you wanted just the GPS, if you were a runner and you didn't care about your getting the cell data, it starts at $399. And if you want the cellular plus GPS, it starts at $499. And then the Series 3, you can get it for $279 or with cellular for $379. You got several price ranges in there of what you can choose from. My recommendation, just based off of some of the features I'm going to tell you about, is if you can afford the cellular version and you're willing to pay the monthly fee that your cell provider is going to charge you, which is usually about $10 to $12 a month, get the cellular version because you don't have to activate it. For one, you could have a cellular version that isn't activated, but say like 6 months down the road, you're like, man, I wish I would have bought the cellular version. If you buy it, you can then activate it, right? Yeah. But if you don't buy it with cellular, you never have cellular. You don't have that option.
What'd you say the price difference is on?
You're looking at about $100.
$100.
It's about $100 difference. Yeah. No matter which size you go with.
But you can't. I'm sure you can't stream music without the cell plan. Can you play like part of your iTunes library without the cell plan?
Yeah. If you can load music on there.
Okay.
So if you have music in your library that you own, you can put it on there.
Okay.
But if you get the cellular one, you can stream music. Now you can only stream music right now, and this is an unsaid thing, which is frustrating about this Apple Watch because I have been basically waiting for this ultimate Apple Watch to come out, and it's nothing is preventing it except for Apple is wanting to hold. They're wanting to keep everything kind of in their control right now. They're starting to loosen the reins a little bit, but you can only stream music with Apple Music.
Okay.
I mean, so if you're really big into running, big into biking, and you're like, I'm going to stream from my watch, instead of paying $15 or whatever, $10 to Spotify, you might have to switch over to Apple Music.
Right.
And some people that's a big deal, some people it's not. I think within the next watch release, we'll see them open that up to everybody. Because typically what Apple does is they keep it in their little ecosystem for a while. They run it. They make sure all the bugs are worked out of it. They know how it works. They know how it flows. And then they eventually open it up to everybody else.
And that makes sense. Because if you just open it up to everybody right off the bat, and then everyone complains, well, you might end up losing a lot of the people who bought it, but you lose future buyers too, right, because no one's bragged about it.
Because it's broken, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So
So
if they're sitting there willing to put all their time and their effort into it and make it work for their app, they know that they can make it work for third-party applications.
Right.
The big thing with cellular that just sold me, and you probably know this because we're on a podcast, is podcasts.
You can listen to podcasts through your watch?
Yes.
Oh, snap.
You can stream them, which is really nice. If you use the Apple Podcast app, you can stream the podcast.
I do remember, yeah, because you were using a podcatcher before, and you switched over to Apple Podcasts when you got your new watch.
Yeah, I was using Overcast, which I really liked Overcast, but the ease of use from the Apple Podcast app on your watch, it just works. And so I took the time to switch over to Apple Podcasts, and I haven't regretted it since. And plus, if you use Apple Podcasts, you can basically go into any of your Apple devices, and it knows where you last left off. I can load up Apple Podcasts on my Apple TV, and it's there after I come home from a run. It's crazy. That's a big selling point for me, was the ability to stream podcasts with the GPS cellular Apple Watch. So that's cool. Now, if you want to go with the newest one, which is the Series 4, which is what I'd recommend, because at this point, we're probably looking at the Series 5 coming out in the fall. So if you're wanting one right now, go with the Series 4. It'll be the most up to date. You're going to get features like you're going to get an ECG. So if you're in the US, and I believe now in Europe, you can actually do an ECG.
An echocardiogram.
Which is nuts.
Isn't it?
It's like this thing on your wrist will do that. I don't know that I would ever really need that, but if I did...
You mean you haven't just ran it to see what it is?
Well, no, I'm not, because it won't run on mine.
Oh.
Yeah, it's only on the newest one.
Sorry.
That's all right. But the Series 4 also has the second-gen heart rate monitor, so it's a little bit quicker, a little bit more accurate. Fall detection, that's a cool feature. And so if you fall, this is really good for like elderly or people who have a habit of falling and getting injured. You can have this on and it'll detect when you fall. And if you don't respond to the watch, it will call 911 and it will send out a notification to whoever you have set up as your emergency contacts.
So I used to use, it wasn't a fall sensor, but Strava has a program called Beacon.
Yes.
I used that for a little while, but basically, like, if your GPS dot doesn't move for 5 minutes, then it gives you a countdown and says, hey, we're going to call someone.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, no, sorry, don't call. Well, I didn't catch that one time, and so my wife called me, and she was like, hey, everything okay?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm great. How are you?
But it's,
I didn't know that.
Right. But it's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's those little things. Like, if you were out on a run and you got ran off the road by a car or you tripped and fell into a ditch and knocked yourself out, it would call the police, give them your GPS location, and also send that same thing to your whoever's in your emergency contacts.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Super good safety feature. The accelerometer is supposed to be faster in this newer one. Just typical speed upgrades. The speaker's 50% louder because you can actually have phone calls on it, which is kind of cool. So, which I use every once in a while. If my phone's not near me, I can be like, hey, how's it going? and get a phone call from my wife in the middle of a run or something. So
like Steve Carell in that spy movie? You can just talk to someone on your wrist?
Yeah.
Agent 99?
It's like,
is that who he was?
I don't know who he was, but it's like people reference Dick Tracy a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I used Apple Pay on it because you can use Apple Pay.
I wanted to not reference James Bond.
Oh.
Because I actually don't think I've ever seen it, but he has every other spy toy, so I just wanted to say someone else.
Oh. I didn't get the joke. But you know me. I don't know anybody famous. I'm just not. And the newer one also has Bluetooth 5.0. So, but that's the Apple Watch. I mean, you can run multiple apps on it just like you can on your phone. So if you have a favorite running app, you can go out there and see if it's got it on there, and then you can use that app, or you can use the built-in one for fitness stuff. It'll do things like track your calories. It gives you exercise minutes that you're supposed to do per day. It tracks the number of stands you do per day. If you get basically a point system based off of the calories burned, the workout minutes, and your number of stands. So it's a very, very health forward type model. That's what they're going for.
Sure.
The bands are replaceable easily, and you can buy them super cheap on Amazon.
Do we know anything about the Series 5 pricing yet? Do we know anything about... I mean, you mentioned some...
I haven't seen any rumors, which is weird.
Okay.
But the watch is right now, alongside the AirPods, is their fastest growing item. And so they're going to just keep coming out with models.
Yeah. So my Garmin watch is the Forerunner 935 XT. They also have a Forerunner 735 XT, which has a lot of the same functionality. It's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit cheaper, and there are some features that you don't get. Like I mentioned on a previous podcast, if I ever wanted to run an Ultra, I can put it into Ultra mode. It saves power on everything, but it keeps the GPS going, and I can get 60 hours quoted of runtime, which is insane.
Crazy.
60 hours.
I should say this about the Apple Watch.
2.5 days.
If you're running just GPS, you probably will get 5 to 6 hours, maybe.
Okay, so that's kind of where I want to start. You plug your watch in every night.
Every single night, yep.
I plug mine in for 15 to 20 minutes once a week.
Yep.
And basically what I've decided to do is I just leave a charger in my car. And when I notice that it's below 40, I plug it in on my way to work.
Yeah.
And I'm good to go. Like that was one of the real big selling features for me because I wanted the sleep.
Right.
So I didn't want to take it off every night and put it on a stand.
Yep.
But I also want all my steps. At the time, all of my steps were important because of some work challenge things that we had going on. And so I didn't want in the evening to pull it off and put it on the stand and lose some walking around the house stuff so that I could have my sleep. So my buying the Garmin was my, at the time, inflexibility, unwillingness to compromise on just a few trivial things.
I think the battery thing is one of the biggest selling points of the Garmin's. Their batteries are very impressive.
Yeah.
And the Apple Watch, since it came out, has basically, if you look on their site, they say 18 hours. Like just normal use, 18 hours.
Normal use, 18 hours.
So you need to be prepared to plug it in every night. Put it on its little hockey puck thing that it comes with.
Yeah.
Where with the Garmin, you're going to have a longer battery life.
Yeah.
There's two folds to that, right? There's the Apple Watch, you have a pattern.
Yeah.
You do it every night.
Yeah.
That's a pain.
Yeah.
But it's also always charged.
I think there have been 2 times in 2.5 years where I've said, Mike, we're getting ready to go out for a run and I'm at 7%. But hey, you know what? We got our lunch run finished.
Yeah.
Watch didn't die.
Yeah. You do take that chance of the watch being, because you're more relaxed, right?
Yeah.
You're more relaxed
it's not something
with that,
that's constantly on my mind.
with that big battery. So
at the time, well, and still, the 935 is $499.
Okay.
I see that your largest possible S4 model is $529.
Yes.
So they are in the ballpark together.
They're close. Yeah.
So price is not your determining factor here at all.
Right.
And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want, oh, I really love this thing, but this other one's so much cheaper.
Right.
Like
it's not like there's like a $200 price difference.
Right. I hate making decisions like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do, but oftentimes I don't.
Yeah.
You know, there's kind of a frugal versus cheap. How much are you losing out on when you go down in price? If it's things that you don't care about, well, fine.
Right.
But if it's stuff that you really don't want to give up, then, you know, that's an issue.
Yeah.
But I obviously don't use my watch for these things every single week, but I've used my watch to do a full triathlon. And it was, you can set it up however you want. You can have the transitions in, or you can leave them out. I put them in because I wanted to know. Super smooth. Loved it.
Yeah.
You know, so run, bike, swim, obviously. I've used it on an all-day canoe and loved seeing that data when I got finished.
Oh, that's just fun.
Yeah.
Seeing how it snakes around.
Yeah,
I've done that, yeah.
And oh my gosh, we really spent 2 hours at that swimming hole. Who knew? You know? And I've used it to play golf. It has, if you really want to get into it, if you really play golf a lot, you can set up each club and you can say which club you just hit, and it'll measure
that's wild.
how far, you know, because you hit the ball, you mark it, and then you walk to where the ball landed, and then you mark it again.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
and then you say that was my 9-iron.
Yeah.
I haven't done any of that, but I do use it to keep score.
Yeah.
And I use it a lot to tell me, you know, how far I am from the hole. So you get in the middle of the fairway, you've got 80 to the back, or to wherever the on-course measurements are, but the pin's at the front today.
Okay.
You know, so that's only 60 yards.
Yeah.
So I've used it a lot for that. I use it a lot to know how far that water hazard is away.
Yeah.
How far I need to hit to get over it, or maybe I should just lay up.
Yeah.
And then it's got, you can turn it on for any number of activities. I was actually looking through this morning, and there's a tactical app you can add. I didn't download it, but
okay, so like if you were like
shooting,
competitive shooting or something.
Yeah, I'm guessing like it probably goes. I mean, because you're getting a lot of recoil on your wrist.
Wonder if it.
So I'm guessing it goes based on your first shot, and I don't know. Like I said, I didn't look at it, but there's so many different apps, and then you know you can actually get into the app on your phone and see some different stuff that you don't see on the watch, so you can look at your sleep patterns and you can go through and analyze your run and all that stuff. I will say, maybe if we are going to compare and contrast the watches a little bit, one of the things that the Apple Watch has going for it is that you have options. So if you don't like the built-in app for running, you can go out and find an app that you do like for running.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you buy Garmin, you're kind of signing up for what Garmin is giving you.
Right.
And
it's very specific.
And it's going to be good.
Right.
But if it's not what you like, then you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I would say Garmin, their first priority is the athletic side.
Absolutely.
Like, the only thing that they really were out to do when they did a wrist-based GPS years ago was to track a run.
And those things were huge.
They were huge, but they functioned really well.
Yep.
And they were the only ones on the market. And they didn't have to function all that well, but they did.
Yeah.
They did a really good job of making the product. So, yeah, I mean, when you buy a Garmin, you are buying it for running or biking or whatever your sport is that you're specifically buying it for.
And the other thing, like, I know on the Apple commercial it shows the guy running out into the ocean and going for a swim. But, like, this past weekend, I went out
to the ocean and went for a swim?
No, I went out to the trail in the rain and I went for a run.
Yeah.
And I didn't think twice about the device on my wrist. I did think twice about where I kept my phone because I wanted music.
Yeah.
Because it's got a glass screen instead of, you know, a hard whatever kind of tactical plastic they've got on the watch face. But, like, because I've never had an Apple Watch, I hold it up as this, like, delicate luxury thing.
Yeah.
I know that sounds stupid, but it looks different than how mine looks.
It's glass and metal.
Yeah, and mine looks like it's supposed to be outside.
Yeah.
And so eventually I would learn to trust my Apple Watch out in the rain. But,
well, they're waterproof up to 50 meters. So you can swim with them.
So you're good.
Yeah.
But it just, in my brain.
See, I had the original Apple Watch, and I went swimming with it, and I went in the shower with it.
How many months did you have it before you did those things?
The shower, probably 2 months. Because I started watching a lot of videos of people testing it.
Sure.
Because that's a nice thing about YouTube. There's always somebody out there trying to break it.
Trying to ruin their brand new thing.
Yeah, because of #views.
The first, I think I actually sent this one to you too. When the first notched iPhone came out, someone like turned it on and just left the screen on, and then ran a hacksaw through the middle of it until the screen turned off. Because #views.
You got it. You fell for their
hook,
line, and sinker.
Who watched it?
You did.
This guy.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying with the Apple Watch. Is kind of, whenever it first came out too, it was also like, what is this? Is this a luxury item or is this a fitness item? And if you watch the evolution of it, they've definitely pushed the luxury away, because they had a super expensive edition gold model. Yeah. Like, I think the most expensive one you could buy was $18,000. Super crazy. And then the next year they came out with a ceramic version, and now they don't even make that. It's like they've got steel and they've got aluminum. And it wouldn't surprise me if this next year they just say, we're not doing steel, it's just aluminum. Yeah. Because that's always been what they call their quote unquote sport model. And that's the only one I buy, because
the aluminum.
Yeah. For one, it's been great. Super durable.
Yeah.
I know that you said that you look at it as more like you would have to kind of learn to trust it, because it seems like it's more probably delicate. I have hit this thing on counters, on doorknobs, and no scratches on the screen.
And that's what comes from 4 years of wearing an Apple Watch on your wrist?
You just learn that, hey, it's more durable. And I don't put a case around mine. Some people I know put cases around them.
Gosh, that makes them look huge.
It does make them look big, and I don't like that.
I don't either.
So I go caseless on my
natural.
Watch. Yep. No, I do buy cheap bands. I won't buy Apple's bands. I just think they're overpriced for basically a plastic band or rubber band.
You know what they say?
What's that?
Bands that make good dance.
I don't know. I've never seen anybody dance. Well, maybe on the Apple commercial.
Yeah, they're always dancing on Apple commercials.
But I think, can you load music? You can load music.
No. I can use it to control my phone.
Okay.
So I can volume up, volume down, play pause. And I can...
So you can control your phone. But they do have new models, right? That you can get music on.
Probably. But I won't say yes. I'm not in the market, so I don't know.
I think they do. I think
make sense?
I think it's the Vivo Active 3. I think
the Vivo Actives do have a lot of features that I wish were built into my watch.
And I think it does have music. I think it can play Spotify.
Because I think the Vivo Active is also one of the ones that, like, it was one of the first ones that had Garmin Pay on it.
Yeah, which is similar to Apple Pay. Same concept.
Yep.
It's all NFC based.
Hold your wrist up and walk away.
Yep. So with that Vivo Active, from what I understand, it's got Spotify ability on it. Now, I don't know if you can do other ones,
I doubt it.
Streaming services.
If they're advertising Spotify.
But now, I don't believe it has a cell antenna in it. So the way that it works, from what I understand, and this is very limited.
Streams through your phone.
Well, you can go in the Spotify app and you can say, I want to basically download these songs to my watch. And so you could have a playlist of Chad's Funky Run songs, and
play that funky music, run, boy.
And then you can download them to the watch, and you can have all your music for your run or whatever. So you have the options now. It just depends on what you're wanting, right? So, like,
always.
I think if you're a triathlete, and you want to be able to do those transition type things, I would say Garmin is still the way to go.
And for no other reason, because I'm sure there's something you can do on your Apple Watch.
Mm-hmm.
But with wet fingers
Yeah.
and sweat, it's just that there are buttons on my watch and you click the button.
Yeah.
You don't have to fiddle with the touchscreen stuff.
The touchscreen technology still isn't there to deal with a wet screen or wet fingers.
Yeah.
So there have been times that I've gone on a run and my hands are all sweaty and my watch is sweaty and I can't get my touchscreen to do anything until I wipe my hands off.
Well, same with my phone. When I get back to the car and I want to do something, like you're just gonna have to wait.
Yeah, so that is kind of like touchscreens are not ideal for that. But with that being said, it's not a big of a deterrent for me to not go with the Apple Watch. But if you want to be able to, you can switch sports in the Apple Watch now, right? So you could do a run and then you could switch sports and you could do a bike ride and you could switch sports and you could do a swim, or you could switch sports and do a yoga going. And you can keep this going and it'll log them as different activities. But it takes a few clicks to do it, right?
Right.
Where with the Garmin, you set up triathlon mode and it's like, you hit one button on the side and it's like, next place, next thing. And
you do have to have it preloaded to do that.
Right, but it's cool that you can do that.
It is.
I do wish the Apple Watch had that feature.
And we keep saying triathlon, but I've actually set it up for brick workouts before, where I've ran, biked, and I just click.
Yeah. So if you're in a race situation, the Garmin is definitely going to be quicker in switching activities. If you're not in a race situation and you don't care about how long it takes to switch to a different activity, the Apple Watch can do it, but you're going to have, I think, 2 or 3 little screen presses that you're going to have to do, which you wouldn't want to have to deal with in a race.
Sure.
But I think either way, no matter which one you go with, you're going to get a good product, right? You're going to get a product that's going to tell you the time.
Yes, and I think so. I won't say that I made the right or wrong decision on the watch that I bought. At the time, I made the absolute right decision because that's what I wanted at the time.
100%,
I think if I were buying now without ever having either, and I was still willing to spend $500, I think I probably would go Apple Watch because of now having the ability to stream music.
Yeah.
They didn't have that at the time.
No. It's changed a lot since you bought your watch. How long have you had your watch?
2.5 years.
Yeah, so they had the Series 2 out, which just had GPS.
Yeah.
And it couldn't do the sport switching, and it couldn't do all that stuff.
I mean, it absolutely was not the watch for me at the time.
It wasn't.
But now I think that I would have to do a lot of research to make a decision today.
Right.
Whereas back then I was just like, I'm getting a Garmin, it's just which model am I getting?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And that was where my decision was made. It was, well, do I need that? No, not really, but I want this thing that this one doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
I was within the Garmin world making a decision on model.
I don't think you'll go wrong with buying a Garmin or an Apple Watch. I think what you really need to look at is whatever one you decide that you want, what are you going to use it for on a daily basis? Are you going to use it for less fitness stuff, or are you going to use it for more fitness stuff? If you are going to use it for fitness stuff, what type of fitness stuff are you going to be using it for? And just kind of weigh it out and see what you like about it. Biggest thing you can do is just ask questions.
Yeah, and I would say, like, you're not making a pro-con list about what one device has over another. You're making your list of wants and then seeing how many boxes you can check off.
Yep.
And to that end, you know, we're both sitting here saying that we're willing to spend $500 on a watch, which sounds crazy to some people.
Right.
In the Garmin world, they have a lot of stuff on the lower price end, but you still get the Connect app.
Yep.
Which is amazing. The Garmin Connect app, both on the phone and on the computer, has so much information. And so I don't know what the Fitbit equivalent Garmin wrist piece is.
Yeah.
But it's something without a watch face that just looks like a thick bracelet.
Right.
That you're going to get a ton of data from. And if that's what you're into, I'm sure that it recognizes runs and some of that kind of stuff if you're just starting to get active. Like, there's something in that market too, so don't be turned off by $500.
Right, and that's the same thing with like the Apple Watch. If you watch and you just want the one with GPS, you can find it a lot of times for $200.
Right, and especially when the Series 5 comes out.
Oh yeah, the Series 3 is going to drop in price, and I can just tell you, I love my Series 3. I wish I had the Series 4 just because it's a new shiny.
Sure.
But I have no reason to upgrade. And honestly, when the Series 5 comes out, I'm not going to upgrade. I'm going to wait another year because I think my Series 3 will last me in as far as like getting software updates and working and functioning, the battery life and all that stuff for a whole nother year. So yeah, I mean, the price ranges that you can get these Garmin's in are $100. Apple Watches probably around $200. So I mean, there's a ton to choose from in the Garmin realm. So you can check out all those. You're going to have a ton of things to actually look over and see what fits you the best.
Absolutely.
Apple is going to be a little bit more narrow, just because they essentially almost all do the exact same thing. It's just a matter of, do you want the new faster one, or do you want the older one, or do you want, what screen size do you want?
Which metal?
Yeah.
Like which casing?
Exactly.
Now, so like the big difference between the 10S and the 10R is OLED screen versus, what's the other one?
It's an LCD screen, and I can't remember what they call it now.
That's fine. But like, is there something like that on Apple Watches where you have screen options?
Just the size.
Just the size.
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually rate the screen brightness in nits, which is a fun word. It's got 1,000 nits.
Do you know that nits are what baby lice are called?
Oh, that's disturbing. Well, it's got 1,000 baby lice.
Like little louse egg
lousies
pouches, the little white flecks that they actually search you for in school. Those are nits.
That sounds disgusting.
Isn't it?
Now I'll never think of that the same.
Apologies.
Yep. But yeah, the screen brightnesses are the same technology. They all use OLED, so that's a wash there. It just depends on what size you want.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was something that our listeners needed to be looking for.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on the Garmin stuff?
I love it still.
Yeah?
I know a lot of times with technology, we buy a thing, and then we use a thing, and then we get bored of a thing, and then we start looking at the next thing.
Yeah.
And I still love my watch. Yeah, I made the right decision.
Well, that's pretty good considering you said good. 2 years.
Right,
That's a long time to still like your device.
I think I've said this before, but it might have been on that elusive episode 0. There have only been 2 times where I've wished that I could send back a text message, because that's something that my watch has. I can read the first several lines of an email. I can read a text message. I can see notifications coming in. I can see a phone number if someone's calling me.
Yeah.
And then I can make the decision on whether or not I need to get my phone out. Now, if I have headphones in already, I can answer a call and I'm good to go. My phone stays in my pocket the whole time.
Right.
There have been twice where I've wished that I could just say, okay, or yes. Or, even if it just had pre-programmed
quick
responses or something. Yeah. But that's so small. And I know that if you went to something where you couldn't voice to text, say something back to someone texting you, you'd lose your mind probably. Because you've had it.
It would be difficult.
Yeah,
it's
because you've had it.
Yeah, well, like whenever you have something, right? You have it, and then you have to get rid of it. It'd be like, it's like the equivalent of like driving a car without power steering.
Or going back to standard def TV.
Right. It's like back then it didn't bother you. None of that stuff bothered you, but it would bother you now. So I totally get it. I think you made the right choice. Yeah. I think Garmin is a great company. They've got a good product line. Yeah. And I don't think you can go wrong with either one. To close this section up, I do want to say that one of my favorite features of my watch is using it with my AirPods. I can leave my phone at home. I've got the LTE version, so I can stream my music or my podcasts, and if somebody needs to call me while I'm on a run, they can call me, which is really cool.
That's pretty sweet.
But with AirPods, you're completely free. Speaking of AirPods.
Speaking of them.
Did something come in the mail for you?
Something came in the mail for me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got my AirPods last week. Wireless charging is so cool. I don't know how much I can geek out about wireless charging. But here's the thing. I've yet to slide over to the battery screen and see everything like less than 80%. Because it's always charged.
It's always charged, yeah.
And I will say I've been a little paranoid about the batteries running out or whatever. And so I've yet to, lie. I had them both in on my run this weekend.
Nice.
But outside of that, I've only been wearing one at a time.
Yeah.
And when they get down to 70%, I switch them.
Oh my gosh. But that's a cool feature.
It's a cool feature. I can do that. They're great. So I set up, there's a couple of different ways that you can set up the double tap, which I know was the same way on the old one. But I don't need to set one to Hey Siri. Yeah. Because I can just say, Hey Siri.
Right.
Crap.
It's okay.
I don't need to set one to Hey Josie.
I'm leaving it in.
Because okay, if you're leaving it in, then I'll stop with the ruse. But I have mine set up to skip song, right?
Okay.
So go to the next one, go to the previous one. Because sometimes if a song's really hitting right and you're on a hill climb, just keep playing that song, baby. And so I realized over the weekend that might not be what I want because I was having issues with my volume. And so when the wind was blowing and I was really out of breath, I wanted it louder. And then when I got up where it was flat and I got my breath back and the wind was calm, like it felt too loud. And so I was constantly reaching around behind me and hitting the button on my phone. Yeah. Because you can say, Hey Dingus, and tell her to turn the volume down.
Can you?
Yes.
That's cool.
It takes a second.
Well, that's cool.
So she comes in and she said, well, first of all, there's not an audio tone when you say her name. Oh, okay. So everything goes silent. So you have to assume that she's ready to hear you. Okay. So I tell her what I want. I don't know if it was because of where I was, but it kept saying, like, we're having connection issues or something like that. Yeah. So have you ever had that?
Yeah, just because he was on a trail.
Yeah, I was out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, so
very poor cell reception.
So yeah, it still has to have, which is weird because that's an on-device thing.
Right, and so I ended up switching from Amazon Music over to my iTunes, thinking that if I get everything off the internet, then she'll work better. Yeah. And it was still kind of hit and miss. What ended up happening is at some point, like, my headphones completely disconnected and everything went to just the phone, but I didn't realize it. And so I'm messing with my watch trying to press play, and it says it is playing. So I would pause it, and I would press play again. I was like, what in the world is going on? And I was like, oh, maybe they're just not connected. Yeah. And so I went tap, tap, and music.
And it started working.
And Ludacris was there.
There you go.
I was like, hey, Luda, I missed you.
So, all in all, your first running experience with them, what did you think? Other than that weird disconnect thingy.
Yeah, so none of that happened until about 1.5 miles in. Okay. Dude, I was loving life. Yeah. So what I ran with before had the around the neck kind of hard plastic with a little wire that ran up to the earpiece. Okay. Right? Yeah. And they weren't bad. Like, I never had an issue with them falling out. I know some people still. But they had the silicone. So you kind of jam them in there. Yeah. I'm still going to use those for mowing the grass. Because they have some sound dampening. Yeah, which is because of that silicone. But after a little while, like, those hurt my ear. Because it's the pressure. I mean, you're forcing something in there to make that seal. And these just set in there. Yeah. Just so light. Yeah. And I never thought about them.
Did you ever have any issues with them moving around or anything?
No. Okay. I actually have had more issues because of this jacket that I'm wearing. Yeah. I wear this jacket, the one that I said is 20 years old. Yeah. And it has a stiff collar on it that sticks straight up. And every now and then it bumps the tip.
Catch that.
But we're about to summer. Yeah. I'm about done with this jacket.
I'm done with jackets.
And so that would happen. no matter what I had in my ear,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So that's not an AirPod thing, but
Yeah.
I've been using them at work. I love them. I love that just take it out, because I used to, when someone would walk in my office, I would take my headphones out and set them down, and then reach over and start messing with my phone, which is kind of awkward when someone walks into your cubicle.
Right.
The first thing that you want them to hear is, hey, what's up? Not, hold on, let me play with my phone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so you just take it out and set it down.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
And it just stops and starts back up when you put it back in your ear.
Here's the weird thing. I can't find like a specific thing to just super brag about and say, oh my gosh, this is so worth the $200. Other than the fact of, this is the best compliment I've got for them. They're like every other Apple product. They just work.
It just works, yeah. Yeah, they're so simplistic.
And
they just
more,
work.
What more can you say for something
than
that?
Some people are worried that these are $160 to $200 throwaway products after 2 years, and I can see where they're getting at, because I've had mine for a little over 2 years. The battery life is getting significantly shorter,
but it's not bad.
It's not bad, but the other day, whenever I went on a run, it was 29 degrees outside. I didn't wear anything over my head, so the cold affects any battery.
Sure.
I got about 50 minutes out of it. And that was the shortest battery life I have ever gotten out of my AirPods. That's
pretty rough.
Yeah, that was... I was shocked by it, because I've never had it be that short. But, yeah, but I look at it this way. I probably... If I could just see... I wish they kept this statistic on your device of how much you use it per day.
Oh my gosh.
I'm probably averaging 4 hours a day on my AirPods for the last 2 years.
Every time I look at that screen time screen, I'm just shocked.
Yeah, they need to have an AirPods time screen.
Right?
So you can see
how long playing.
Yeah, because that way you would know the life of them, right?
Right.
So if you're getting 4 hours a day for 2 to 2.5 years, and that battery is still working, I don't care what brand of headphones you buy. If it's a small earbud style, after 2 years, no battery life is going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be degraded, because you're constantly charging them, you're constantly running them down, you're constantly charging them. Batteries only have a certain amount of life that you can get out of them. And I don't know any headphone that has replaceable batteries for earbuds. So the argument of like, well, they're just making a product that you can't replace the batteries in. Well, my Jaybirds, I couldn't replace the battery in.
Right. One other thing. I have listened to my headphones so much more since I got them. And it's not because, hey, I got a new toy, I want to play with it. It's because they're always in my pocket. And they're available.
Right.
My old wireless headphones sat on my nightstand.
Yeah.
And so if I was out in the garage and I thought, oh, I'm going to be out here for a little bit, I might walk back in and grab them. Or depending on what I'm doing, I might not. And now I just pull out my headphones and I put them in my ear.
Yeah.
Or, you know?
Yeah, it's just they're there. They fit nicely in your pocket.
Yeah.
There's no wires, so it just slides in your pocket and you pop it back out.
I was waiting in line for something the other day, and I just slipped one in.
There you go.
And got 10 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, that's the crazy thing to me, is just how convenient they are.
Yeah. They're just always with you. Easy to carry around.
Yeah.
So, well, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a crazy tech?
Maybe. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. All right, we're going to do crazy tech now.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a song. Do you have a song? No.
I do. Can we roll the windows up?
No.
Okay.
I've never seen you embarrassed to sing a song. This is good.
This tech's so crazy. This tech's so crazy. That's all you get.
I know that song.
Yeah?
But I don't know who sings it.
Gnarls Barkley?
Charles Barkley?
Gnarls Barkley.
Charles?
Not the basketball player. Oh.
I don't know who that is.
You know the guy who sang, well, I've been driving around town with this girl I love, and I'm like, forget you.
Oh, okay. I thought that was The Weeknd.
No.
Okay. Anyways, I don't know.
We
artists.
digress.
Yeah, done.
We digress.
My crazy tech is something that I didn't think I really wanted, and I didn't think my wife would want this thing either, but we went ahead and bought one. It's one of those little robot vacuums.
Yeah.
We bought the Roborock S5 series, which I think ours is like an S55. I think the number at the end of it just determines what color it is, because it comes in like 3 different colors. But this thing is amazing, and I had never had one before, and I thought, why would you need a robot vacuum? Don't be a lazy person. Vacuum your house, right?
Right.
But
I have one too.
Yeah, but having this thing for like a month and a half now, every time this thing runs and I get a message that it's done, I swear my wife tells me this is the best thing ever, because it's a little bitty. I call it little. It's small compared to a normal vacuum, and this thing will just roam around your house and clean your house for you, and goes underneath chairs and underneath couches, which you never do, but maybe like once every couple years, if that. And it just does its thing while I'm at work. Yeah. And it goes and it docks itself back. It's super cool. And this particular model, which I bought specifically because of the way it navigates the house. Your robot vacuum has a feature of the same thing, which got me interested in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do random patterns.
Right.
It goes around the outside of the room or outside of an area, whatever size it determines, and then it goes back and forth.
And fills it in.
Like what you would think.
Like you do.
A vacuum.
Or like when you mow your yard.
Yeah.
Like that's the most efficient way to do it.
You don't do random patterns.
No.
So you know what's been cleaned.
Yep.
And it's just, it works so well. And there are a few things that you have to do to make sure that it doesn't get stuck underneath things. But if you know, hey, it's going to vacuum today, I'm going to close this door so it doesn't get stuck underneath our clothes in the closet.
Right.
Then it's no big deal. But it works super well. And this particular model also has a mopping feature, which my wife loves because we have a lot of hardwood floor. And you basically put this little mopping pad on it that's washable and some liquid, and you say you're mopping, and it vacuums in front of the mop, so that if there's any dust, it'll pick that up first, and then the mop just kind of pushes along the floor.
So I'll tell you the thing, we bought our robot vacuum when we bought our house, and our house has all wooden tile. There is 0 carpet.
Okay.
And so we were, shortly after we moved in, we were like, this is overwhelming. How are we ever going to... Because every time you sweep wood floors, it looks like you need to sweep again.
Right.
And I was so impressed with the robot vac when it would go through and clean. Like, when I didn't even realize that the floors were that dirty, oh, I could tell that it ran today.
Yeah.
And the other time it's... So we don't have ours just pre-programmed because my dog's getting older, and she's having issues, and I really don't want my RoboVac spreading something all over the house, right? Because that's the opposite of cleaning.
Yeah.
So I don't have mine pre-programmed, but what I will do is, like, on a Saturday, I kind of know the pattern that it's going to run in now. I'll start it, and I'll run through and pick up that room. Yeah. And I'll just kind of be picking up while it's following behind me. Where without a robot vac, I would go through and pick up and then have to vacuum. Yeah. Where now, once I'm done picking up, like, I'm done. Right. Like, that's it. It does the cleaning for you. It's so great. It's just nice because it's and it doesn't get impatient. Yeah. It's not like, this room's fine. It's like, I've got one job, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And when it gets tired, it goes back to the dock, and then it resumes where it left off if it didn't do the whole house. Yeah, which probably because of your mopping, yours is getting tired quicker. But my house, the main level of my house is small enough that, like, it can do the whole thing in one run. Go. Yeah. Yeah, mine has, I'm sure yours does too, it has like 4 different levels of vacuum power. And mine does not. Mine is on or off. Mine has like 4 different levels, and it's got like a quiet mode, and it's got a balanced mode, and it's got a turbo mode, and like a super turbo mode. And whenever you can take it to the drag strip, run it a quarter mile.
Exactly. So, and it also detects when it's on carpet. It bumps up the level of suction power.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of neat.
To try to get that dirt out of there.
Yeah. So I think I have mine on balanced mode, and then whenever it gets on carpet or a rug, it amps up, and so
nice.
It just handles everything really well. I'm surprised at how much I like it. I'm surprised at how much my wife likes it. Definitely a good purchase.
Yeah.
What's your crazy tech?
So, the last few weeks, I feel like I've just been telling you what's in my house. So I'm going to continue doing that.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not. I'm gonna save that one for later.
Okay.
I saw this last week, or maybe this last weekend, that Wisecam is introducing security features.
I did see that too.
So they're gonna have. Right now, all they have is like a starter kit, which I believe was 3 window/door sensors, a motion detector, and then a thing that you can plug into the back of a camera.
Yeah, I did see. I was wondering what that was.
I think when the motion detector kicks, it'll tell that specific camera to turn on.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, my buddy who told me about the Wisecams in the first place has already been messaging back and forth with corporate.
Yeah?
They only suggest one of those plugins per house. So you need to. So you're only going to have one like motion activated camera.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But all the cameras are motion activated.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought is this camera would be one that like you've got the motion detected, but you want this camera somewhere else.
I got a solution for you already.
Yeah.
IFTTT.
Well, right.
You could set it up to where if one camera triggers,
all of them turn on. Yeah. The only thing is, so maybe this is what it fixes. They only record for 10 seconds. And they go back and record before the thing happened. So really, you're only getting 6 seconds of whatever the event is.
Okay.
So maybe once this motion thing triggers, maybe it just is on. Maybe.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so right now they're just selling the starter pack.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it was 19 and I rounded it to 20 in my head, or if it was 29 and that's where I'm getting the two. But it's $20 to $30 for this starter pack.
That's really cheap.
Right. And then they're going to have expansion stuff shortly after they go live.
Okay.
But they had this in-app. They have a shop within the Wise app where you can shop for stuff, and it was going to be like a user exclusive where you could buy the starter pack before anyone else.
Right.
But that looks like, I mean, it's not going to be monitored.
Right.
You're not going to have cops showing up.
Right.
But like most people don't have to have that anyway. I just want to know if I left my garage door open or, whatever. Right. And so that's the big thing.
Or if somebody got into the cookie jar, because that was one of the things that they had. One thing I was really shocked by is the price. Okay. Well, it doesn't surprise me with the Wise stuff, right? But
they're super cheap. Not cheap. They're very inexpensive. It's a good product. It's not cheap.
If you go with Simply Safe or you go with the Ring setup, you're looking at anywhere between $15 and $30 per sensor.
Oh.
And so if it's 20 or 29, either way, and you're getting 3 sensors plus a motion sensor plus a little dongle thing to plug into the back of the camera, that's super cheap. It would not surprise me if eventually they go with some sort of monitoring type thing. If they add on to this down the road, like maybe that's like their end game.
Or I think it's Simply Safe. Like they just have a bass unit that makes a god awful high decibel noise. Like you don't have to have it monitored.
You don't.
But it has this thing that you're not willing to be around.
It's enough to like say, hey criminal, you don't know if I'm calling the police or not.
Right.
I'm making lots of noise type thing. But you can have it monitored.
Sure.
Where maybe that's one of the nut things they're going to come out with is a little siren.
Yeah.
So even if it doesn't detect or call the police, maybe it just makes a loud noise.
Because there's a lot to be said for a loud noise in a neighborhood.
What's really interesting about it is the pictures online make it look like they're big sensors, but if you look at them and whenever they're putting them on something, they're actually pretty small.
Half a thumb?
Yeah. They're surprisingly small.
Yeah, they didn't look huge, and that's my thing. Like, so the nicest looking systems always drill into your door frames and all that stuff because they hide everything.
Right.
And then the others are these relatively large
bigger
sensors that are stuck all over the place.
Which
right?
I've never understood that because it's such a simple thing.
Yeah, it's a little magnet. It's, the size of your thumbnail. Yeah. Like, that's all that matters. Yeah. But they've got this huge casing. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. That looked pretty cool.
Yeah,
and cheap.
Yeah, I think that is a good crazy tech.
Thanks.
I'm excited for a lot of the stuff that they're going to come out with this year. They're supposed to announce even more as we go.
Nice.
Well, yeah, I think that'll do it for us, Chad. What do you think?
I think that's good for today.
Yeah. Well, why don't you let these fine listeners know where they can find us?
Guys, you can find us all over the internet. Mm-hmm. We're on Apple Podcasts, obviously. Mm-hmm. Go over there and check us out, even if you're listening to us somewhere else, and leave us a rating. You don't have to review us. If you do review us, that'd be nice.
It'd be super nice.
But leave us a rating at least, and subscribe, because that helps out too. You can check us out on the web at lunchtimetechtalk.com. There you can browse show notes. You can click on Podbean and see how many downloads we've had. That's what I do a lot. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Lunchtime Tech Talk. You can find us on Twitter at Lunchtime Tech T1. Guys, don't forget to go out to Twitter and follow us, like the post, retweet it,
yes,
and say something.
Yes.
And you can be entered to win Mike's extra case
from
SP Connect. Yeah. And go check out his YouTube video. It's pretty sweet. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MSUMac. That's MSUMACC. Mike, where you at?
I am on Twitter at run_bike_Mike, and I'm on Instagram at runbikemike. And of course, you can check out my YouTube at just look for Run Bike Mike or search for Mike Mitchell.
One last thing before we go. It's the 1st of April-ish. Don't fall for the junk out there, guys.
I did.
You did. I saw that.
A couple times.
I saw that. But there's some real BS out there. So just stay vigilant.
Don't look on the internet for a couple days.
That's it for us, guys.
See ya.
Bye.